All right, we focused on the USA. Now let's focus on El Tri. Talk about being a sight for sore eyes. Reports are suggesting that Raul Jimenez will be called back to play for El Tri for the first time this year. Now, the list is expected to be announced either next week or in the coming weeks for the upcoming games in September against New Zealand and Canada. But, Herc, this is a very, very juicy one because there seems to be a pecking order now for El Vasco, Javier Aguirre, in terms of how or where he likes his strikers. And we're hearing that he's very much a fan of Raul Jimenez, hence why we're hearing he's going to be calling him back. Then Henry Martin and, I've got my thumbs up there. And Santi Giménez then gets relegated, if you will, to third place. So are you cool with what you're hearing?
I am not cool with it. I am not cool with it. Listen, Henry Martin is 31, turning 32. He'll be 34 at the World Cup. Raul Jimenez is 33. He'll be 35 at the World Cup. Breaking news, Germán Berterame is now going to be called up as well. An Argentine-born striker for Monterrey. He's going to take up more time that should be going to Santi Giménez. Here's the thing with Santi Giménez. He's not exactly showered himself with glory, and I understand that. I really do. But if the best player you have right now in Europe, in general, in your pool, is Santi Giménez, and he's 23 years of age, why not give him these games to sink or swim? And when he's sinking, let him try to swim out. Let him try to save himself. Because there are no qualifiers. So what are you afraid of? What is Javier Aguirre? What is the Federation afraid of here? Because they keep putting more and more roadblocks to Santi Giménez. I don't understand the need for them to say, yeah, Santi's the future. But the future can wait. Let's not go there yet. We still want to see what the guy of Raul Jimenez, who since his unfortunate incident with David Luiz has not been the same player, let's see what he can do. Or let's see what the late bloomer and Henry Martin can do for us potentially 2 years down the road when we don't know how he will be physically. Or Germán Berterame, let's give him his Mexican citizenship or his passport to play with the Mexican national team and see what he can do when you have Santi Giménez there. I don't understand it.
Justice for Santi. But with that said, do you feel like this is, I suppose, a message from El Vasco that Raul could be or should be a part of his plans going into 2026 World Cup? Or is he just, look, it's two friendlies, it's against Canada, it's against New Zealand. Let me see what he's talking about. He's had a rough season at Fulham, but he's been saying all the right things recently about how he knows he needs to step up. You know, he's got some time. He came off the bench for Fulham against Man United. Is it just maybe for this window, let's see what he can offer? Or do you feel like he may become a mainstay in terms of El Vasco's big plans?
Well, here's the thing. You don't have qualifiers, so you're going to get these juego moleros, so he could potentially score a few goals. He could potentially mask over those cracks, tape over those cracks, and convince you that he's the striker of the now. But what does that do for you 2 years from now? What are you banking on? What has he done at whatever level he has played at club, okay, where he's not playing very much for Fulham, where he was an afterthought, or with the national team when he's got an opportunity since that incident? And Henry Martin, the same thing goes there. If you think Liga MX is a higher level than the Eredivisie, I will buy that. I will concede. Go then that route if that's what you want. But if you don't, and you see that this kid is commanding massive transfers. We're talking 30 million is what Feyenoord want from him. They've already rejected bids for 25 million from Nottingham Forest. You've got another one in Leicester City coming about. If you think the Eredivisie, if you think the Europa League, if you think the Champions League is better than the Mexican League, is better than Liga MX, then why are you delaying what should have already happened 2 to 3 years ago? I don't understand it. I understand that when Santi Giménez has worn the shirt, when he's worn green, ha quedado a deber. He's not been that player that's convinced, and I think that has more to do with the style of play of the Mexican national team than Santi Giménez and how he could be dangerous.
Well, we spoke about Santi Giménez just on Monday because it seems like he's a hot commodity in this summer transfer window. We heard about Nottingham Forest's interest. We spoke to Jules about it. It looked like they were probably going to go for Eddie Nketiah instead. And now Fox Sports Mexico is reporting that another team is interested, and it is none other than the newly promoted Fox's Leicester City. And this is also because Jamie Vardy, even though he scored at the weekend, we know he's a Leicester legend. But look, he is closer to retiring or maybe going to MLS than he is to be Leicester's main man if they want to stay in the Premier League for seasons to come. He just signed a one-year contract this June, Herc, so time is of the essence. Word is Leicester are looking to bring in Santi as kind of his understudy and maybe making him the main man next season. What do you think of this? Are you cool with it?
All right, let's go back a few years. Patson Daka.
This sounds like a no.
I don't know if you recall the name Patson Daka. For some of you people out there recall the name.
Yeah.
Zambian striker. He was killing it at Leipzig. Killing it at Leipzig a couple years ago. In come Leicester City, 25 million euros. Massive sell for them. And he doesn't do so well for Leicester. Goes in the championship, doesn't do so well. This is a guy who was killing it in the Bundesliga, 25 years of age, only a couple more years older than Santi, and he couldn't beat Vardy out. I don't know. Forget about the players you'll be understudying. I don't know if you being in a bottom feeder, a Premier League, how can I put this? A team that only aspires to stay in the Premier League, if you have enough weapons around you to explode, to do well, because Daka didn't. So that's my only hiccup with this for Santi Giménez. I think he's the type of forward that needs to be in a right situation. He's not physical. He's not a guy that associates well, combines well. He needs the game in front of him. It's not a situation where he's a striker that only needs one and he's going to bury it. He's more of the mold of a Darwin Núñez, if you will. So I really have my doubts here. I don't know if the Nottingham Forest or the Leicester Cities of the world are the way to go. And what worries me is 30 million is a lot of money. And that would be a record transfer for Feyenoord, if memory serves me right, what the producer was saying earlier. That would be a record transfer for Feyenoord. So they're going to want the most money available. I don't know if that means the best situation available for him. Gabs and Jules on their podcast had an interesting discussion about the lack of transfers out and about in this window. Sure, you've seen Julian Alvarez, you've seen Connor, go to Athletic. You've seen some of these moves. But generally speaking, there's not a lot of money out there. So Feyenoord are now seeing the money dry up, and they're saying, we got to do something now because this can blow up in our face. It's not a situation where somebody's going to come in January in a panic buy and really give us the type of money we're going for. So my worry is he gets pushed to the biggest spender, the highest bidder, and I don't necessarily think that'll be the best situation.
So Forest, Leicester, staying at Feyenoord. You're thinking he should stay?
No, I want him to go. I just don't want him to go to a bottom feeder in the Premier League. I'd love him to go to La Liga, mid-table team, one of those type teams. I'd love him to go to Bundesliga would be great. Certain Serie A teams, I just don't think bottom dwellers in the Premier League where you fight and they're just going to go out and buy somebody else because they have that money if you don't work out in 6 months is the way to go.
Poor Leicester, once Premier League champions, now Herc calls them bottom feeders. Well, anyways, let's move on. It is what it is. Fair play, fair play. Let's talk about Chucky Lozano because, what a kind of sticky situation now. Apparently, he is not in El Vasco's plans and possibly at all when we're talking about 2026 World Cup prep. Now, what we have looked for in the Mexican media, they're saying es una cuestión más personal que deportiva. So, Herc, I have to ask if you're cool with this now because it seems like these are stemming back to the comments that he made last time, which kind of froze him out of the squad. And now it has trickled over under new management, which is a bit surprising for me. So talk to me. What do you think? What do you think's going on here? Because in Jamaica, we have plenty drama with our federation, as you know already. What's going on here with Chucky?
Then you'll relate to this. Let me back it up for you a second. You said it's more of a question of what? What was it? It was en cuestión de qué?
Una cuestión más personal que deportiva.
More of a question of it being a personal issue than a sporting issue is what you're saying. Okay, so let's back this up. Well, it was a personal issue when he called out the tactical setup of Jaime Lozano versus the U.S. Okay, Jaime Lozano's gone. So it's not that. It's not that. So who's calling the shots here? Because Javier Aguirre wasn't there for that. Let's back it up. Let's back it up. There were reports that Chucky Lozano was unhappy with a lot of things at the Federation. The way they treated their footballers. Logistics. Tell me if this sounds familiar.
Ooh,
flights that
so
take you
familiar.
to Europe and then have 2 or 3 stops and coach, not business. How they
this
don't
sounds
take.
familiar.
Does it really sound familiar? So it's not a situation where it's personal with the coach. The same people, the same federation that blacklisted Javier Hernandez, El Chicharito, the same federation that's blacklisted players like Carlos Vela, the same situation of who's another one? Salcedo, or is it Salcido? Which one was it? It was Salcedo, excuse me. That federation is at it again. And the funny thing is here is you could change the figureheads of the federation like they have throughout the years, and they still take it out on these players. They want to show them who's boss. Here, we run the show. Here, we tell you when, where, and what time. Chucky Lozano just came off of scoring a brace. It would have been the perfect moment. Perfect moment. Everybody's saying, why didn't he go to Copa America? And now we're supposed to believe it's personal reasons with who? Javier Aguirre? What does he know about this?
Well, that's my point. If you're El Vasco now, and I get it. Of course, the federation are your employers, they're your bosses. It is what it is. But you're just starting out right now. We're talking about one of the most difficult moments that we're seeing in Mexican football history. We're talking about just, a few years away from a World Cup on home soil. We're talking about an early Copa America exit that kind of shocked everyone and left people with such a bitter taste in their mouth. If you are El Vasco, don't you just storm into that room and say, listen, I need all my best players and I need them now. If I'm going to say I'm going to call back Raul Jimenez, I need someone else who's also been scoring, multiple goals now. This is someone I need. Put everything aside. This is crisis management 101. We have to do it.
Yeah. I don't disagree with the general sentiment. Let me play devil's advocate. It's not even devil's advocate because this could be like a very good reason. Counterpoint here. What's he done in the Mexican jersey since the 2018 World Cup? What's been his highlights? Do we know? Because the producer's saying...
But not many have done any.
Hold on. That's what the producer's saying to me. I could tell you the highlight of Santi Giménez with the Mexican national team right now. It's a goal. They won the Gold Cup for him, right? So when we talk, what has Chucky Lozano done? That is the counterpoint to this. That is the counterpoint that right now you could be saying this guy could be a headache for me. And guess what? He's not been good for the Mexican national team. That could be the counterpoint here. I'm not saying that's the situation. I think it falls in line with more what we were talking about earlier. But certainly a counterpoint to this is, what have you done for me lately? And it's not been much.
Poor Chucky, man. I guess we'll see when it all pans out. Like I said, that squad list is supposed to be announced hopefully next week or the week after, because those friendlies are rolling around pretty quick and it's interesting times in both Jamaican and Mexican football, isn't it?